Okay. All right. Peace, you beautiful, beautiful soul. And yeah, welcome. This is going to be our first session right into your birth chart. I'm definitely excited to get into it for you. And so, before we get into the houses, in this session, we'll be covering the first through the sixth houses. Before we get into that, I'd kind of like you to adapt this perspective on the houses, right? Which is more hermetic. So, first things first, to align the houses with the concept that your birth chart is a reflection of your mind. When it comes to the houses, it's important to understand that each house represents a different department of your life, right? The first house is like where all of the thoughts and all of the energies you've accumulated dealing with your personality and your personal life reside. So it's like, to give an example, when a planet is transiting, right? When a planet is in the sign Cancer, right? And it's going through your first house, then it's like the energies of that planet, and each planet, kind of emits a different like thought wave or whatever you want to say, like a thought structure, right? Like the energies of that planet is going to activate the energies of your first house. And so it's like the way that the planets are moving is very much synchronized with the way that our minds are moving. Now, when a planet is in your first house, it's giving extra energy into the department of your mind that deals with your personal life, your personality, your health. That's pretty much like the first house. It's a personal house, and it's just straight to the point, right? There's nothing else needing to be said aside from the fact that it's all about you, right? It's all about the I am, because the first house connects to the energy of Aries. And interestingly enough, you have Aries and Libra, those signs intercepted within your birth chart, meaning the energies of Aries and the energies of Libra kind of have a difficult time expressing themselves. And your moon, although it's in the sign of Aries, it's an intercepted planet. The moon is not a planet, but you get the astrology lingo, right? So what that means, and we'll get more into this later, I'm just going to cover it a little bit now. What that means is that even your moon, the energy of your moon is kind of not the easiest for you to access and activate. And the moon deals with things like emotions, right? And sometimes when an intercepted house is at play, it's of significance for one to learn to use, like, you can say, one's intuition to tap into that energy, in the sense that it's a very like subconscious energy, very behind the scenes, I don't want to, like, it'll be time consuming for me to explain all of it, so I just wanted to put that there for you real quick to be aware of, and then we'll get deeper into it later for sure. But yeah, that's what the houses signify, the different departments and the different areas within your consciousness, within your mind, which then reflect within your life. So the first things first we are going to be discussing is, your first house. And so your first house is in the sign of Cancer, right? I just want to look at, just want to check again to see if there's any planets or anything like that in your first house. So there are no planets within your first house. So the first house ruler, that the ruler of your personal life and your personality is the moon, right? And so when it comes to the personal life, one way I like to kind of explain it is, looking at the way that the houses aspect each other. For instance, the fourth house and the first house, they square each other. The fourth house is the house of family, of energies, right? It's the house that deals with the companions of the home, right? And yeah, all of that good stuff. So the first house is just you personally, but then the fourth house is like your family and the customs and traditions of the home life, right? And so sometimes, like, these two can square each other, where it's like what you may personally want to do for yourself, may not align completely with what your family may want. it's kind of like the example of you wanting to be a nurse, but then like you getting a family and that kind of being thrown out the window. Not that it's a bad thing or anything, but that's just me giving an example of how those personal life and the fourth house can square each other. To give more detail, it's like the first house and the seventh house oppose each other, right? The first house is like your personal life. The seventh house is your house of personal relationships, you what I'm saying. So the seventh house is more like when you're in connection with someone, and there's kind of this union between you and them, right? Where it's like where your stuff becomes their stuff, and it's just more, it's a personal relationship, right? So it's a personal energy, but it involves two people, right? So the first house involves you as an individual, solo dolo. The seventh house involves, everyone, like you and a partner, right? And this doesn't have to be intimate. It can be like a business partner or anything like that. But anyways, first and foremost, with you having your first house in Cancer and the moon being your first house ruler, and then furthermore your first house ruler, the moon, being in the sign Aries and in a sense being intercepted, which you can kind of say kind of like repressed a little bit, right? Yeah. Because when a sign is intercepted in a chart, it means that the house that the sign is in is greater than 30 degrees. And so the 30 degrees that is the sign is within that house, but it's in the middle of the house. And then there are three signs in one house, right? So for the case of your 10th house, your 10th house cusp is Pisces. Your 10th house cusp is Pisces. And then your 11th house cusp is Taurus, right? So there is no Aries energy. So it's kind of behind the scenes a little bit more. And so with this being the case, right, this may also express in a manner where like you may find this energy of behind the scenes or repressive energies manifested in your personal life. What I mean by that is like when it comes to the personal life, it may kind of feel and it may kind of seem like you have to put yourself on the altar so then like your family may be like, I don't want to use the word saved, but kind of putting your family before yourself, right? And that's also a very Cancerian type of energy, a very Cancerian thing. And so to get deeper into this, what's interesting about this aspect or placement is how like all right, so what's interesting about this placement, right? I forgot the first train of thought I was on, but I'll get on another one. Is that when the ascendant is in Cancer, right? Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. When the ascendant is in Cancer, the personal life does get very entangled with family, right? Because Cancer is the sign of family. Cancer naturally is connected to the fourth house, the house of family, right? And so what this ultimately would mean, ooh, it's hot out with me. Let me take off my jacket real quick. But what this ultimately would mean is that your personal life is very much entangled with your family life, right? And when you think of Cancer and you think of the moon, right, you very much do think of mother, right? Motherly energies. And so the ascendant is very much the rising sign or the first house, many names for the same thing. This is very much the channel and the avenue which your soul is desiring to take to evolve, right? To transcend. And so for you, like your inclinations of feeling like it being a mother is what you, right? Like you personally, what came here to do, very much does align with you having that ascendant in Cancer, with the ascendant in Cancer energy. And so when it comes to this department, right, of your life, right, which we have discussed as a mental compartment as well, the energies that are most manifested here are Cancerian, right? So the key word for Cancer is feelings, right? So Cancer is all about the emotions. Um, yeah, Cancer is all about the emotions. It's all about the feelings. And so you actually have Cancer, your your um your first house within the deacon of revelation. And this is like a Cancer Scorpio deacon, right? I don't know how deep you got into the deacons, but each sign has three deacons, right? And when it comes to the second deacon of Cancer, this is like a Cancer Mars combination type of energy. And this is the deacon of Hydra as well. And so Hydra is the constellation of the multi-headed dragon, right? It's like Hercules fought this dragon, right? And this was like the beast, right? And yeah, it's a sea monster more than a dragon, right? Because it came from the water. Uh, so this is a beast, right? That was depicted Hercules fighting, and when Hercules fought this beast, it was like every time Hercules would, you know, cut off one head, Hercules would fail because in place of that one head that was severed, two would pop up. But it was only once Hercules had the assistance of his friend, right, that Hercules was able to not only cut off the head but conceal the head, right? And this kind of speaks into the fact of emotions and how when we just cut emotions off, right, and we put them to the side or we ignore them, those emotions are going to multiply and they're only going to get more. But when we deal with the emotion, right, with intellect, which is what the Hercules' friend can signify, right? Because a knife, not a knife, he didn't really have a knife, he had more like a torch. Uh, yeah, that's aside the point though. Once that sword was severed, and like I guess you can say if you illuminate yourself, right? Because it's more like connected with the torch. You illuminate yourself about that emotion, right? And you go through the feelings, right? Because fire is more the feeler, water is the more the emotion. Emotions are more internal, fire is more external. You feel me? And so yeah, like when you have that capacity, not only to cut an emotion off, anyways, when you have that capacity to not only cut an emotion off, but process it and deal with it, and you know, stop it at its core, um, then that would be the most advantage channel for you to take, especially where your personal life is concerned. So yeah, the first house or the personal life thing does involve emotions tremendously, going through a lot of emotional experiences, right? Cancer is also like the mother, right? It's very nurturing. It's all about caring. The key words for Cancer is I care, but also I feel, right? So it's important that when it comes to your personal life, that you put your emotions and your feelings first. You feel what I'm saying? And you also put your comfort first as well. And to get deeper into this, Cancer is connected to the moon, and the moon is connected to the subconscious mind. And so, for you, one of the greatest paths you can take to attain personal desires, right? Because the first house also deals with personal interests and the desires, is through the channel of your subconscious mind, right? So tapping into and learning, for instance, like the Jose Silva method, which is definitely one of my favorite methods, or learning from Joe Dispenza's work. You feel me? Or yeah, Joe Dispenza or Bob Proctor. These are all great individuals that have great esoteric, or not esoteric, but great subconscious work. You feel me? That you can tap into. Or like the book Psycho Cybernetics, right? These are all great resources you can tap into to learn more about the subconscious mind. But yeah, for the most part, I would say with the first house, that pretty much is that energy. And the first house, the deacon that you have your first house in, which is the second deacon of Cancer. This is the deacon of revelation. You know what I'm saying? Revealing, right? And that is definitely one of the ways that you stop an emotion from rooting many heads by revealing the root of the emotion, right? Why the emotion is happening. And then once you have that root revealed, then you can deal with it on hand. But yeah, I would say, I'll kind of touch on things that are evident, right? Like cancers are very caring, kind, very nurturing. They can be somewhat passive as well. So it's interesting how this energy plays out with you having like Cancer and Moon in Aries, but then you having that Cancer ascendant. Because Aries is a very direct and assertive type of energy, right? It's all about the I, the me, the self, and yeah, like asserting oneself. It's all about leadership, and it can be very officious as well, meaning put its head in places where its head doesn't belong, right? But with it being in an intercepted house, that may be an energy that you may be familiar with being a part of you, but it may have been something that you may have had to slowly but surely cultivate it out of you. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, that's pretty much like the first house. First house. Yeah, I'm not. I don't think there's any more else to say about the first house. So I guess I'll add this also. Anytime you align yourself with things that resonate with the crystal, things that resonate with the Cancer energy, like crystals, gemstones, people, activities that are Cancerian, then you will bring more energy into your first house, right? You'll be able to leverage your first house more. And anytime you're wanting to improve your first house, the source or the root is emotions. You should, whoa, and check this out, right? You were telling me how you're not really the type to share your emotions with people. You don't want people to see you cry or anything like that. That gets into the fact of your moon being in not an intercepted house. Like a lot of people look at your moon in Cancer and they'll be like, oh, you must be a drama queen. Maybe you are, right? But from the perspective of like really emotionally expressive, and like when you're feeling a type of way, everyone has to know. When you're sad, the whole house is up in shambles. Just like that Aries energy. Like I have an Aries baby sister, and she's always like screaming and expressing herself emotionally for sure. But like that may be a bit different for you with that intercepted moon, and we'll get more into that, like I said already. But yeah, now let's move on to your second house. Okay, so your second house is in Leo. So both your second and your third house are in the sign Leo. And this is so because you have an intercepted sign, right? Meaning a sign that, like you have Aries and Libra intercepted, right? Meaning they don't show up in your chart, like they don't show up in a house or anything like that. So there's an extra house that's empty that had to be, so like another sign had to substitute the space, the empty space, and that's why you have two signs, one sign in two houses. So you have one sign in both your second and your third house, and you have one sign in both your eighth and your ninth house, and we'll get more into that later. But yeah, so to begin, right, your first second house ruler is Venus, right? Because Venus is the closest sign to the second house cusp. Then your second house ruler is Mercury. Then your third second house ruler is Mars. Then your fourth second house ruler is the Sun, because the Sun rules the Sun rules the sign Leo. So by affinity, by vibration, they're connected. And this is very interesting, right? You have all this activity in your second house. So, the second house is like the house of money, the house of personal resources in general. This doesn't have to be tangible resources, but this can just be things that you will value to. An activity you may value tremendously, a person you may value tremendously, objects you may find to be of value, right? But beyond that, just things like personal resources in general, things like money, right? And to get deeper into this, this can even be like certain attributes and qualities about yourself that you value, right? So Venus expresses through harmony, Venus is also a very social planet, right? Venus expresses through the path of least resistance, right? Which negatively can play out as laziness, but for the most part, the path of least resistance. And unlike Mars, Venus is very calm and chill, and all that comes to Venus kind of comes easily, right? Because Venus is all about the flow. And so, with you having your second house ruler, your first second house ruler being Venus, this kind of indicates a flow of wealth to you. You feel what I'm saying? Money possibly manifesting rather easily than more difficultly. Like you also have Mars there, so there is this energy of ambition and desire, right? To want to get money, because Mars is like the planet of aggression, right? And when I say aggression, I mean like aggressively going out to get that money. You know, like Mars doesn't just like forms of aggression that aren't violent would be like passion, ambition, motivation. You feel what I'm saying? That's all Mars energy. And yeah, so you do have that as well, and you have Mercury in your second house as well. And Mercury is all about the intellect, the thought, the scheming of how are you gonna get this bag? You feel what I'm saying? Like thinking and putting thought into the acquirement of abundance and prosperity. You feel me? So yeah, this is all good. You have a good amount of activity within your second house. You actually have a stellium within your second house. You have a stellium in your second house. I think you have a stellium in your. Yeah, I know you have a stellium in two houses, right? Which is very powerful, and a good thing. But anyways, now that was put to the side, let's talk about the Leo energy, right? So with you having your second house in Leo, mind you, this is a department of life or the mental component within your mind that deals with wealth, right? And so anytime, that deals with personal resources, wealth included. Anytime you are like, let's say, hold on, I want to make sure that I'm still recording. Sometimes, yeah, I'm still recording. Right? It's crazy, but yeah. Okay. So the second house, right? The compartment of the mind that deals with wealth, consciousness, right? This is where those thought structures and thought forms that deal with wealth are existent. And whenever a planet is in a house, it's very powerful. You feel what I'm saying? Very powerful. I think you were trying to tell me that you didn't have Aries or Libra in any houses. I think you're trying to share that with me. And you don't. You definitely don't, because they're intercepted, So you were right if that's what you're trying to say to me. But anyways, anytime you're involving yourself with anything that's remotely Leo, right? So like images of lions, the color orange. Oh, it's gonna rain. I hope it doesn't rain before I get done. So it is, right? Okay. So Leo, right? Leo. Leo crystals, Leo people, Leo activities, just Leo energy in general. When you involve yourself with this energy of Leo, you activate those thought forms and thought structures that are within your second house, right? And as you know, as within, so without, and all is mental. Anytime there is a tremendous mental activity, it'll find its way outwardly and express into the physical world, right? So yeah, the second house in Leo. First and foremost, the energy of Leo, as I'm sure you're aware, is very, very masculine. Cancer is more so a feminine and receptive sign, right? But Leo is very masculine and assertive. So when it comes to your money, this may be an area where you may be greatly expressive, very also jovial, because when you think of tarot, for instance, right, the card connected to Leo is the Sun card, right? And the Sun card is like this child on a horse, and there's like all of these signs of abundance, I guess you can say, around, like flowers and, I think fruits, I want to say. I'm not too sure about the fruit part. But yeah, so it is very much a jovial and abundant type of energy, very majestic type of energy. When it comes to wealth and abundance, the sun and Jupiter are the two planets that are responsible for the acquisition of prosperity, wealth, affluence, and all that good stuff, right? The sun is gold in alchemy, and Jupiter is tin in alchemy, right? So the combination of the gold and tin and the alloy that's made from those two planets mentally creates wealth. But even when it's just the sun by itself, it can create wealth. You feel what I'm saying? And so yeah, when it comes to your second house in Leo, you may also value. So the thing about Leo is a lot of Leos, they tend to acquire wealth and abundance in their life. And the reason why they acquire wealth and abundance in their life is because they want to live comfortably and securely, right? And so a Leo is not going to per se pursue wealth and abundance for the stability and security reason of it, right? Like a Virgo might, it's very resourceful and they like stability and material security. But a Leo may pursue wealth and abundance because a Leo wants to attain a certain image, right? A Leo kind of wants to have this sense of pride about their lifestyle, right? They want to live, like a queen or a king, right? Very affluently and prosperous. That's primarily the primary inspiration for Leos. And so with you having the second house in Leo, the key word for Leo is I will, right? And Leo is all about the willpower. And so there may be this energy of willingness to go and get the money, like, and this harmony also, right? Because you have the Venus there as well. This harmony when it comes to engagements that deal with wealth acquisition, if what I'm saying. And so I will also tell you this: with you having your moon in the 10th. Wait, whoa! I forget that it's intercepted. So we'll talk about that later. Yeah, I need to get a little bit more detail later. We'll talk about it later. But anyways, with the second house in Leo, these are people that may even be very like charitable and like generous with their money, like giving it, right? Because Leo is a sign that rules the heart. Is what I'm saying. And yeah, it's like it can play out in. So the strength of Leo is kindness, but the weakness of Leo is its desire to want to dominate. So this is kind of like Scar and Mufasa, I think. I don't know his name. But, from the Lion King, Scar, right? The uncle. He was more of like the negative energy of Leo. He wanted to dominate and he wanted to take over, and he didn't care about life. He just wanted control, domination. So that's a negative attribute of Leo. But then what's his name? The father of Simba. I don't even know their names. Mufasa, I think it is. Right, the father of Mufasa was very kind, very caring, very understanding of the balance of life, right, and wanted all lives to live, and had respect for the gazelles as much as he had respect for the birds, right, or the lions, right? So yeah, there is this balancing energy of Leo, and all of that is very much integrated within your second house. And the way that this can express is having a great value or tremendously valuing things like ethics and morals, right? Because Leos can be very ethical and they can be very moralistic. So having a high value in being dignified yourself and being a respectful individual and having a great dignity and not a great dignity, but having a great value. God darn, I kind of lost my thought that I was about to share. But yeah, just having a great value in those things that are more so intangible and that more so deal with respect and making sure that making sure that everyone is respected and good, and also things like valuing kindness, right? And yeah, when it comes to the perspective of money, there may also be this entanglement with the identity, with one's perception on wealth, because that is Leo, right? Leo is the sign of identity. And so you may identify a lot with your wealth and your resources. And so Like when I say resources, like I already explained how it's beyond just money, right? So I'm not here to say that you identify your identity is centered in money, but it's just centered in personal resources, like what you have to give, right? Yeah, and so you may even value your identity itself, right? Because that's the Leo energy as well. Um, and I guess one thing I'll say uh, to be attentive to is to not allow money to dominate you or your personal resource to dominate you. You feel me? Because of that more negative energy of Leo that deals with domination. Sometimes money may be the like sometimes the acquisition of money may manifest through this iron will of getting it and kind of not caring for anything else. Which is more of a lower evolved energy of the Leo. But yeah, so I guess why not share that? But yeah, okay. So now let's look into your third house, and if I'm not mistaken, your sun is in the third house. Let's check it out. Yeah, your sun is in the third house. Your sun is in the third house, but it's in Leo. So you have your third house at 29 degrees. 29 degrees Leo. So with your sun being what am I saying? With your third house being 29 degrees Leo, like 1 degree of your ninth house, 1 degree of your third house is in Leo. And so because it's the cusp, that's like because it's the cusp sign, then your third house, the energy of your third house expresses through Leo, but there are dormant energies that deal with Virgo. They're also within your second house, right? Okay. And then 29 degrees of your fourth house is in Virgo. So only 1 degree of your fourth house is in that sign of Virgo. And then the rest of the degrees is in the sign of Libra. Right? Yeah, right. Okay. And pardon me, I didn't mean to blow into the mic. So, when it comes to the third house, this is the house that is naturally connected to the energy of Gemini, right? And the second house is naturally connected to the energy of Taurus, which is all about having things, like I possess, I've gotten, right? Type energy. Now, when it comes to the third house, this is the department of life that actually deals with your mind, right? But specifically because the mind is very vast, right? Like everything is mental. So when it comes to the mind, it's very vast. But the third house, it more so deals with your immediate mental environment. So these are like the thoughts that you are having, right? The thoughts that you are thinking. Whenever there's a planet in the third house, which in your case you have your sun in the third house, and the sun is your first third house ruler. And then, yeah, it's actually your only third house ruler. Your sun is ruled by your third house. And so the third house is this house, right, of intellect, of learning, of education, of study, of it's the student house. I'll say that, right, amongst other things. And like I mentioned earlier, it deals with the immediate environment, right? So it deals with your immediate thoughts, the thoughts that you're thinking right now. The sixth house more so deals with your more deeper thoughts, but it's not even like this sixth house, but it's like the Virgo energy, right? Because the sixth house belongs to Virgo, and like Gemini and Virgo, right? You're a Virgo, right? So okay, cool. So Gemini and Virgo, right? Like I mentioned to you, they are ruled by the same sign, so they are in that sense compatible. And Virgo is like the deeper mind, right? It's more like behind the scenes thinking, like scheming and planning, and it's more deeper thought. Then Gemini is more surface thought. It's more like the thought of today, the thought of the immediate moment, the thought of the now, right? And so yeah, that's what the third house is like. It's your immediate environment and the thoughts that you are thinking in your mental perception. And so your immediate thoughts are most definitely very much connected to your subconscious mind. It's like the thoughts that are most prominent within your subconscious mind are those thoughts that are going to be placed within your conscious mind for you to be aware of. And so the third house is not only the house of the internal environment, in regards to thinking and thoughts, you feel what I'm saying? but it is also the house of the immediate environment, the physical immediate environment. This is because, right, your immediate environment is but a looking glass. If you uh, tap into your mental environment, let's say through vigorously working with affirmations, or vigorously doing hypnotic work, right, self hypnosis, to change your thoughts, then eventually what will happen is your immediate environment will start changing. It can be as dramatic as changing of location, or it can be like changing of people. And it can even be the same people, but maybe they may start acting different around you, because it's all a reflection of your mind. That's what the third house is. All right. And so whenever there's a planet in the third house, not a planet, but whenever the sun is in a house, what it does is it vitalizes the house. It brings vigorness into the house, right? So it makes the energies of the house more alive, right? More energy is there. It's more like it's sourced more with life. You know what I'm saying? Okay, okay, okay. So if you're having your sun in the third house, my bad, not your sun, but you're having your third house, Leo. Your third house in Leo. Like we already broke it down. Everything I talked about in your second house is very much applicable to your third house. The willpower is of great significance, right? So with the third house here, it's like you do have this ability and capacity in a sense to turn your thoughts into your actions. You feel me? In the sense that if you want to do something and you think about it, then the likeliness of you getting up and doing it are very high, because you have that Leo energy in the third house, which is all about the willpower, and the fire signs are about activity. They're all about energy. Like Aries is the most active sign. The first deacon of Aries is the deacon of activity, but Leo is more like fixed fire, right? Because it is literally fixed fire. It's more like you can say uh like a hot piece of metal, right? Like heating up a metal to the extremes that it turns red hot, right? Like that metal is there and all it's doing is just radiating energy. It's not going anywhere. It's just radiating energy, right? And Leo's like creative like that as well, right? It's very impactful and influential, right? Like when and Leo tends to draw attention to itself, right? So all these things may also be connected to your second house. I mean, your third house. Like you may find yourself receiving a lot of attention for your mind and your way of thinking, right? Which would also make sense from the angle of like your third house being, well, your sun being in the third house, right? And so yeah, with your third house being in Leo, it's just this energy of like great mental liveliness, like being mentally like erect. You feel me? For lack of a better term, like being very mentally vigorous and lively. And yeah, there would be tremendous values in you learning how to apply your mind. And yeah, for sure. And so Leo is actually it's more of a positive sign, right? Like the air and the fire signs, they're masculine, they're positive, but then the water and the earth signs, they're more negative and feminine, in the sense that they're more receptive, right? They don't assert and make things the way they want them, but they more kind of are like receiving things, if that makes sense. Like Virgo is very analytical and very observant, right? So a Virgo is very influenced by their environment because of this. Because within the environment, right, they're going to, or others, or people even, right? Because Virgo belongs to the second emanation, which is like the energy of it's the energy of modification, where it's like that element is not inwardly expressing itself to the outward world, but it's more like receiving the outward world and combining its inner feelings, its inner thoughts, its ideas of practicality, and combining it with its external influences, right? So the second emanation signs, Leo, Libra, or Leo, Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio, these signs, according to the elements, right, they receive, so like Leo kind of receives inspiration and takes that inspiration and receives from another, and it adds its own inspiration, and then it expresses it outwardly. Uh, Virgo observes what is practical and how others have gotten money and established, security and foundation, and then it takes that and then it kind of makes it adds its own ideas and understandings. And in Scorpio, it kind of does that as well, but with emotions, right? And then after Scorpio, yeah, that's it, right? After Scorpio, well, Libra, right? And then Libra does that, but with like thoughts, right? But yeah, for sure, for sure. So, yeah, I would say like that's like pretty much the third house. Very vigor mind, right? Very energized mind. And it's like you definitely learning to leverage your mind uh, in correlation to your willpower, and understanding that your thoughts very much are anchored in that energy of will, right? So I will, and you may benefit a lot even from utilizing I will affirmations, right? Like I will, maybe writing it down, speaking it out loud, right? But yeah, okay, so that's like the third house. Now let's look into the fourth house. So the fourth house, fourth house, fourth house, fourth house. Your fourth house is in Virgo, right? Which we already kind of discussed and broke down. Okay, so let's see what's up with your fourth house. Hold on, I want to make sure that I'm still recording. Yes, indeed, I am still recording. So your fourth house is in Virgo. Your fourth house is in Virgo. It's 29 degrees Virgo. And your first chart ruler is Pluto. And then your second, my bad, your first fourth house ruler is Pluto. Then your second fourth house ruler is Mercury. Okay, so as I'm sure you're aware, right? Pluto is a very extreme planet. It's the planet of intensity. It is known to express harmoniously, but in its nature, its path of least resistance is negative expression. Pluto is very like maleficent and scary, and we'll get more into that later. But more harmoniously, Pluto deals with collaboration, and Pluto is also the planet of the highest exaltation of spirituality. So it's very interesting how like dualistic Pluto is. You feel what I'm saying? Because Pluto is both. How do I hold on? Pluto is both like it's both very connected to like material and densities, but simultaneously it's also very connected to spirituality. What I'm saying is very dense. And so the key word for Pluto though is collaboration. It's all about working together and working as a unity. And we'll get more into Pluto when we talk about Pluto itself and what it means for it to be in your fourth house. But yeah, I'll leave it at that though. So first and foremost, Virgo in your fourth house. So we already talked a little bit about what the fourth house is, right? The fourth house is the house of work, right? The fourth house is the house of labor. Oh, my bad. Virgo is the house of work and labor, not the fourth house. Fourth house is the house. Virgo is the sign, not the house. Anyways, fourth house is the house of the home, right? So we just got done talking about your personal houses. The 12th, the first, the second, and the third. These are all personal houses. And we'll talk about the 12th house in the next session, right? But yeah, these are all personal houses. And next houses we're going to be talking about the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 6th are companion houses. Now the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th are actually the companion houses. But right now we'll just be covering the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 6th. Yeah. Okay. So first things first, when it comes to the 4th house, it does deal with the companions of the home, right? It also deals with family energies, domestic energies. It deals with your home. It deals with things like real estate in general. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. And so, with you having your fourth house in Virgo, right? Virgo being the sign that deals with like work and labor, right? Um, this may be an indication that like when it comes to your home life energy, family life energy, there may have been this work and labor associated with it. Like when Virgo is in the fourth house, Virgo not being an emotional sign, right, being an earth sign rather than a water sign. Another thing that happens is the resources, materially speaking, may be present, right? But there may and like family may show up like that. But it's like when it comes to like affection and love and nurturing type of energies that may not be there completely, but where resources are concerned, it's completely there, right? Making sure that your children have like, or just family energy in general. So this may have even possibly been your own experience as well. Like just making sure that everything is good, like they have the materials and all that good stuff. Now another thing with Virgo is although Virgo can be somewhat of a controlling sign, it's really because of its desire for perfection, right? So there may have been this energy of perfectionism, what I'm saying. A perfectionism. Okay. So you have your Mercury in Leo, right? I think you have Mercury okay. Yeah, Mercury in Leo, if I'm not mistaken. Because Leo is really the sign that deals with pride and perfection as well. So both Virgo and Leo have similar energies, right? Of course they're close, but that makes sense. But yeah, anyways, as I was saying though, with the fourth house being in Virgo, when it comes to that energy, like that mental compartment of life, that energy is very much dominated by the energies not only of Pluto, because Pluto is in there, but more specifically the energies of Mercury, which is the energies of intellect, rationalization, planning things out, 1 + 1 = 3, all of that good stuff. And so you having like two Gemini twins is very much fitting to the fourth house, right? Like the fifth house more so deals with offsprings, but like yeah, the fourth and yeah. Anyways, um, yeah, so there is very like mercurial energies involved when it comes to your fourth house. When it comes to your fourth house, hold on, I think I will also say. So I pretty much broke it down like with the energies of the fourth house, right? And so the key phrases connected with Virgo, the first one is analyticalness or analyticalism. So yeah, like there may be a lot of analytical energies going on in the fourth house, right? The home life. But the negative energy of the weakness of Virgo is like criticism, right? Which are analyticalism and criticism. There's like a thin line separating them. But like, yeah, that's another key word for Virgo. And yeah, Virgo is just about analyzing, right? And Virgo is a very service orientated energy, right? So there may be a lot of service and service type of energy connected with the home life. And this may even be like you servicing your family or your family having the capacity to serve you. And then Mercury, right, is the jack of all trade type energy, like, right, which is more so of Gemini. But I guess I'll bring it up because you were talking up, about your daughters and how they're able to do all of these amazing different things, and also how they are like you were expressing a lot of pride, right? And that's like the Leo energy, like the Mercury in Leo, because Mercury is ruling your fourth house, but Mercury is ruling your fourth house from Leo, so a lot of prideful energies may manifest as well. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. I think another thing to get into it is Virgo is like the sign that deals with health and illness, right? So maybe one energy that may be very prominent is the conscious awareness of health in the home life. maybe being aware of healthy living, or being put in situations where you may need to be aware of healthy livings, right? Because with the Virgo energy, even though Virgo is all about health and eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle, a lot of the times what happens with Virgo is right, they're like that work-life balance, and they overwork themselves to illness. And I think we talked about that. But anyways, now let's talk about your fifth house, which is in Scorpio. Now, your fifth house is in Scorpio, and you have Saturn in your fifth house. You have other things too, like your South Node in the fifth house, and your Vortex in the fifth house, and your Fortune in the fifth house. But that's aside the point. I more so focus on the planets, like the energies of the vortex, like the energies of the comets and everything like that. Like the North Node is important for sure, but those energies manifest elsewhere as well in more prominent and more important players, right? So like the energies that is depicted within your like Chiron or Fortune or Vortex can also be found somewhere else in your chart, like a planet or something more important. But yeah, anyways, the fifth house, this is the house of offsprings, right? And now you have your fifth house in the sign of Scorpio. First and foremost, with you having your fifth house in the sign of Scorpio, well, the fifth house is the house of offsprings, the house of entertainment, and the house of like pleasure, right? So, Scorpio is the sign of like sex and sexual energies. So, first and foremost, I am inclined to say that if you have in your fifth house in Scorpio, you may in of yourself be a very sexual individual and tremendously have great pleasure and enjoyment from, the act of being that close to someone else, because that's what like Scorpio is all about, right? Because like the water signs, they're about connecting. And so, yeah, that may be the primary aspect that you may enjoy when it comes to sex. Things like being able to feel that closeness with someone. And so, with you having your fifth house in Scorpio, right? Like this definitely is not like that type of energy that we can say how do I put it? I forget that word, but it's like an A word, right? As I was saying, when it comes to the second house, not the second house, the fourth house, not the fourth house, the fifth house. Um, Promiscuous. It's not even an A word. It's a P word. Like with the fifth house being in Scorpio, this is definitely not promiscuous energy, but it's more so. It's not promiscuous energy, but it's more so like reserved type of energy. You know. Okay. So also with you having the fifth house in Scorpio, being the house of entertainment, this may be an indication that you may be entertained by certain things that may deal with like magic, like witchcraft or whatever. Like one of the things with Scorpio energy is it's like the dark, right? It's about darkness. And so this can even be like maybe you enjoy, certain. Hold on, give me a sec. You enjoying certain shows, like for instance Salem, or like the witch trials show, or anything that involves magic and all that good stuff. You may even possibly have somewhat of a dark humor, possibly, which I wouldn't completely be able to see with you having all that Leo in your chart. But yeah, also one thing I'll say again is when it comes to when it comes to Moon and Scorpio. So with your Moon being in Scorpio, right? Mars is going to rule. Not your Moon, with your fifth house being in Scorpio. The fifth house is going to rule Scorpio. Mars is going to rule your fifth house, which is in Scorpio. Sorry, I kind of got scattered from a distraction that just happened a couple minutes ago. So yeah, for sure, for sure. And so, Mars is the planet that does deal with like strife and struggle and hardship and persistence and perseverance. So that energy may manifest when it comes to maybe your form of expression, your form of creativity and your art. It may be like you taking your pain and turning it into art type energy. You know, Scorpio also may deal with music, right? Um, but yeah, transmuting energy, pain into art. But furthermore, when it comes to the energy of Scorpio, and we are speaking of offsprings, right? Scorpio is a very, it's also a spiritual house. I mean, a spiritual sign. And Scorpio is ruled by three planets. Traditionally, it's ruled by, Mars and Pluto. But then in evolutionary astrology, Scorpio attains the rulership of Mercury, right? So there comes that energy of Mercury again, where your, where your family, energy or your offspring energy is concerned. But more so from the perspective that, as I'm sure you're aware, Scorpio is very much a sign that deals with evolution. So and transformation. And so what this may mean is that your family experiences, your offsprings, they may be channels of transformation. They may transform you tremendously. They may put certain deaths, but also bring certain births to you, right? But also your art in of itself and your expression may be that which can be very transformative for others. And your way of expression may be transformative for others as well, right? Yeah, for sure. We'll leave it at that. And now the last house up for discussion that we are going to be talking about is your third house. Your fifth, you're not fifth or third, your sixth house. Okay, now your sixth house. Your sixth house is in Leo. In Sagittarius. And your sixth house ruler, first sixth house ruler is Uranus, because you have Uranus, closest to the cusp. And then your second sixth house ruler is Neptune, right? Both Neptune and Uranus are in your sixth house. And this makes them more rulers of the sixth house than the planet that rules the house through the sign relativeness. So the third house ruler through the sign affinity is Jupiter, right? So you have Uranus, Neptune, and then Jupiter. These are the three rulers of your fourth house. And I forgot to mention that when it comes to your fifth house, Saturn, right, is your fifth house ruler. And Saturn is a planet that's heavy, right? Saturn is a planet that brings responsibilities. And sometimes, when Saturn is in the fifth house, this can be a sign of the children kind of being responsibilities. Okay, but you do have Mars in Leo, right? And so Mars is ruling your fifth house from the sign of Leo. And the sign of Leo is more like a jovial, positive, upbeat type of energy. So it's like, even if it is like a responsibility or whatever, it may be, something that you can, in a sense, feel comfortable like embracing and transmute it into something more constructive and something more positive. But anyways, to get into the last house, which is the sixth house. First and foremost, with you having Sagittarius within your sixth house, with you having yeah, with you having Sagittarius within your sixth house. See, Sagittarius is a sign that very much deals with like optimism, positivity. It's very jovial because it's like naturally ruled by Jupiter. Before we get into Sagittarius, let's get into the sixth house. The sixth house is the house of work, right? So it's like the sixth, the second, and the 10th. These are all houses that deal with prosperity. They're wealth houses, right? They deal with the earthly energies. So the second house is like the custodian of the wealth that you acquire. It's like once you have the money, your perception and the ideas that surround the money, right? But then the sixth house is like the house that involves the work you will need to align yourself with and engage in order for you to acquire money. But then the 10th house is like the status and the reputation of the business that you are getting money from. So if you're employed, then this would be like the post office, right? That you work at, like that like the company, right? That's like the 10th house. But if you're self-employed, then it would be like your own company, your company name, the status of your name, the ratings connected with the company name, and your company and all that good stuff. So yeah, we'll get into the 10th house later when we get into it. But anyways, when it comes to the sixth house, and right, this is the department that kind of deals with. Whoa, I'm just gonna leave like this. Pardon me. Anyways, when it comes to the sixth house is a house that deals with work. It deals with labor. It deals with things that deal with acquiring money, right? So employees, if you are an employer and you have employees, right? And this is also a companion house, like I mentioned earlier, and it specifically deals with the companions at work, right? Your companions of the work life. And so when it comes to your sixth house energy, your sixth house energy is very much associated and connected to um, your sixth house energy is very much associated and connected to, first and foremost, because Uranus is the first ruler of your sixth house. The work that you do, it may be very unique and different. And an example of this, it can even be like something that's very common and traditional, but maybe like just the way that you do it may be very unconventional or untraditional, right? Because that's like the energy of Uranus. It's all about uniqueness. It's all about unconventionality, and all that good stuff. And so maybe in the past you may have worked with things that were very unique and very different. You know what I'm saying? Possibly. But furthermore, yeah, that's like Uranus, and Uranus is the higher octave of the planet Mercury. So Uranus does deal with like intellect as well, and information and all that good stuff, right? So working, for instance, like the sixth house energy, the Uranus energy is very much connected to astrology. And Sagittarius being connected to Jupiter is connected to astrology as well, right? So maybe even doing things like, and then with you having that sun in the third house, maybe even doing things like working as a teacher or an instructor of some sort, dealing with knowledge and information may probably be something that's in your alley or alley. Yeah, your alley. But yeah, so when it comes to Sagittarius like is a sign of freedom, right? And so Sagittarius desires freedom to move around physically, but more importantly, mentally, right? And so this may also incline that when it comes to your work energies, the energies that dominate it are the energies of freedom and the energies of expression, the energies of joviality, so like for instance, you being known at your workplace for being very happy and very upbeat and very positive. Like that's a very Sagittarian thing. And Sagittarius is kind of free flowing, and it just lives in the present moment. It's like considered the risk taker and all that good stuff. Uh, but also, interestingly, Sagittarius is both considered a very lucky sign, but also a very risky sign. And the reason why it's lucky is because it takes risks, right? Like the more you lose, the more you'll win eventually. And yeah, when it comes to the sixth house, other things I can talk about are, involving yourself with work, possibly that may deal with travel. So like maybe being like a travel agent, maybe doing that as a side thing, possibly. Um, okay. Yeah, I see. Then you have Jupiter in your eighth house, though. So Jupiter ruling your uh Jupiter ruling your sixth house from the eighth house. Like this may even involve like maybe doing things with like, because the eighth house is the house of healing, but it's also the house of death, and it's the house of surgery. So not just light-hearted healing, but like deep, serious healing, right? And the eighth house does deal with things like Reiki and alternative forms of healing. So yeah, those may be channels for you to pursue possibly as well. But because Sagittarius is like a very mutable, it's a mutable sign, like it's a mutable fire sign. There's a lot of channels that you can pursue as a Sagittarius, right? Energy. And Virgo also being a very Virgo is a mutable sign as well, right? So both Virgo, like Virgo is also very adaptable and changeable, and it can fit into many different forms, right? And like you have your 10th house in Pisces, and Pisces is another, right, mutable sign. So I feel like with all this mutability, like it's kind of like you can kind of fit in anywhere almost where work is concerned. But yeah, like the more you can align with the Jupiter energy, and the more you can align with like the Uranus energy as well. And when I say Uranus energy, I mean like when I say Uranus energy, right, like I mean like a uniqueness and original type of energies, right? Like being an astrologer takes a lot of Uranus energy because you have to be an original and unique. Like astrology is not about one shoe fits all, but it's about originality and uniqueness because every chart is unique and different, right? And then when it comes to Neptune, which is also in your sixth house, Neptune is the planet of utopian energy, right? Neptune expresses through like fantasy, daydreaming, illusions, and it does deal with like kumbaya energy, like everything is well and everything is good. Like when you think of like that song by that Hawaiian dude, and he's playing like the ukulele and he's like singing about rainbows and somewhere way up high. You feel what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure you know what song I'm talking about. Or like this song "We Are the World," right? That's like a Neptunian song, but it's kind of like a Pluto song because like they're talking about getting together, and working together, and it's like Pluto, this planet of collaboration, right? So yeah, and Neptune is the higher octave of Venus, right? Because Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, these are higher octave planets. They're kind of like on a guitar, right? Like you have extra notes, right? And the extra notes are like the same note, but just on a different octave, like higher E strings, lower E strings, higher F strings, lower F strings, right? And so yeah, it's kind of like the planets of the outer realm, for sure. And so Neptune is the higher octave of Venus, right? Venus is like social life and connecting and getting together with people for the sake of one's own pleasure and enjoyment, like selfish pleasure and enjoyment, right? But the Neptune is like agape love, like unconditional, universal love, and a desire to want to unify everyone and everything like that. So getting into work, right, that may encompass that energy of unity and the spreading of love and positivity out into the world may also be good, if what I'm saying. It may also very much be in alignment with you, for sure. And it's not even that this is what you need to align with, this is what you are aligned with, you feel me? So the way that your work life may express, like regardless of what you do, like these energies may be manifested, right? The energy of Uranus, the energy of Neptune, and the energy of Jupiter. You being that happy-go-lucky post lady who delivers the mail, but she's so positive and jovial and like unique because of their positiveness and doing her work, right? Whereas the other post people may be like, I hate my job. Like, damn, I don't want to do this. But yeah, very unique and original energies. That's Uranus, and very like uh, both Jupiter and Neptune are similar because they have that common denominator of Pisces. Like Neptune rules Pisces and Jupiter rules Pisces. Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces. Neptune is the co-ruler of Pisces. You feel me? But anyways, I would say that pretty much concludes this session. And yeah, I definitely do look forward to your feedback, and I definitely look forward to connecting with you on the phone. Like even if like you don't have any questions or anything like that, I always like to after the session just touch bases and connect. You feel me? Uh, yeah, because I don't just want to be doing this for you as a stranger, but as I'm doing this, I do definitely want to get to know you as well, because I feel like the more I'm able to know the person I'm doing the reading for, the more like I can connect to their birth chart as well, if that makes sense. Uh, yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. But anyways, peace, 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 peace.